between its bony fingers. The harshest place on the planet. Mountain climbing is not for the faint of heart, because the world's highest peaks are some of the most inhospitable places on the earth. Everest is remote. At 29,035 feet, the altitude incapacitates all but the hardiest and most experienced climbers, and the weather is ruthlessly unforgiving. Experts believe that the bodies of about 120 failed climbers remain on the mountain today. The body Tenzing and the others found in 1935 was that of Maurice Wilson, an Englishman who had sneaked into Tibet and tried to climb the mountain without the permission of the Tibetan government. Because he was trying to make an ascent quietly, he had hired only 3 porters to climb the mountain with him. As they approached the North Col, those men had refused to go any farther with him. Wilson decided to try to make the climb on his own. That decision killed him. Only someone who has climbed a great mountain knows what it takes to make it to the top. For 32 years, between 1920 and 1952, 7 major expeditions tried, and failed, to make it to the top of Everest. Tenzing Norgay was on 6 of those expeditions. His fellow climbers joked that he had a third lung because of his ability to climb tirelessly while carrying heavy loads. During those climbs, he earned everyone's respect. Not a casual stroll. In 1953, Tenzing embarked on his 7th expedition to Everest with a British group led by Colonel John Hunt. By then, he was respected not only as a porter, who could carry heavy loads at high altitudes, but also as a mountaineer and full-fledged expedition member, an honor unusual for a Sherpa. The year before, he had climbed to a height of 28,250 feet with a Swiss team. At that time, it was the closest any human being had come to the top of Everest. Tenzing was also engaged to be the British group's Sirdar for the trip, the Sherpa leader who would hire, organize, and lead the porters for the journey. This was no small task. To get just 2 people from base camp to the summit, the team brought 10 high-altitude climbers, including a New Zealander named Edmund Hillary. Altogether, the men would require 2.5 tons of equipment and food. Those supplies couldn't be trucked or airlifted to the base of the mountain. They would have to be delivered to Kathmandu, then carried on the backs of men and women 180 miles up and down Himalayan ridges and over rivers crossed by narrow rope and plank bridges to the base camp. Tenzing would have to hire between 200 and 300 people just to get the supplies to the mountain. Supplies that would be needed by the party above the base camp would have to be carried up the mountain by another 40 porters, each a Sherpa with extensive mountain experience. The best third of that team would continue working higher up the mountain, carrying up 750 pounds of necessary equipment in 30-pound loads. Only Tenzing and 3 other porters would have the strength and skill to go to the high camps near the summit. It takes a team. For each level that the climbers reached, a higher degree of teamwork was required. One set of men would exhaust themselves just to get equipment up the mountain for the next group. 2-man teams would work their way up the mountain, finding a path, cutting steps, securing ropes. And then they would be done, having spent themselves to make the next leg of the climb possible for another team. Of the teamwork involved, Tenzing remarked, "You do not climb a mountain like Everest by trying to race ahead on your own, or by competing with your comrades. You do it slowly and carefully, by unselfish teamwork. Certainly, I wanted to reach the top myself. It was the thing I had dreamed of all my life. But if the lot fell to someone else, I would take it like a man and not a crybaby. For that is the mountain way." The team of climbers using the mountain way ultimately made it possible for 2 pairs to make their attempts at reaching the summit. The first was Tom Bordelon and Charles Evans. When they tried and failed, it was time for the second team, Tenzing and Edmund. Tenzing wrote of the first team, "They were worn out, sick with exhaustion."